These two amendments, the purpose of them is to ensure that the measures that are in this bill, that there is no option to extend them, as is currently the case in the bill on the 9th of October. Now, we have put down this amendment in the context that we are opposed to this bill. Regrettably, we will have to vote against this bill. But if, as is almost certain, this bill is going to pass, we think that there should not be the option to renew the measures included in this bill after the 9th of October. And that the Oireachtas should now make the decision that that will be as far as these measures can extend. Now, why? The reasons why they should not be able to extend beyond the 9th of October are exactly the same reasons why we in People Before Profit feel we have to vote against this bill full stop. And they are that the health status or vaccination status of somebody should not determine their rights to access basic things in our society. That is our view. And I say that, Minister, as somebody who is an enthusiastic, and our entire party are enthusiastic supporters of vaccination, of the vaccination programme that is happening now. And indeed, I say it in the context of urging everybody out there who is offered a vaccine to take a vaccine, because the vaccination programme is our best chance of getting out of this grim situation we're in that has cast a shadow, a pretty dark shadow, over the last year and a half of our entire society and over much of the world, both in terms of its economic impact, its social impact, its psychological impact. I firmly believe that the vaccines are the thing that can potentially take us out of this situation and prevent the possibility of further lockdowns, which will become an inevitability if we didn't have a vaccine, or if the other public health measures that we have taken are not enough to defeat. They can hold a virus at bay, as they have done through the extreme hardship, commitment and solidarity of people. They can hold things at bay, but the vaccination programme actually gives us the opportunity to potentially exit all of that and leave lockdowns behind, which is something people yearn for. But the idea that whether you've been vaccinated or not would determine whether you could enter into a pub or a restaurant or access any service essentially creates a two-tier society based on your medical and vaccination status. And I think that is discriminatory. I think it's ethically problematic. It starts a slippery slope in terms of your vaccination status or health status more generally, your personal private health information being something that determines your right to fully participate in society the same as the rest of people. It also has impacts obviously for people who can't be vaccinated. There are people out there because of health conditions are told by their doctors they can't have a vaccine. It would be dangerous for them to have a vaccine. There are people who have not been fully convinced. I want to convince them. I would urge people to take the vaccines, but there are some people who understandably have not been convinced, and we have to convince them. And anything that smacks of coercion, I think, is actually unhelpful. And indeed, it's worth saying the World Health Organization has strongly argued against, for example, mandatory vaccination. Argued that it actually could do damage to the effort to educate people about public health measures and about vaccination. And it is a worrying and telling thing that the Irish Council for Civil Liberties, who are not conspiracy theorists, are very much in favour of public health measures, certainly aren't anti-vax or anything like that, have written to the government and expressed concern that these kind of measures are potentially counterproductive, and that they smack of, to quote the phrase they used, I think, in a letter to possibly yourself and certainly to the Minister for Foreign Affairs, they smack of mandatory vaccination by the back door, because there's a sort of coercive pressure put on people to be vaccinated who either can't be or haven't been offered a vaccine yet or haven't been convinced of it. So for all of those reasons, I think it's wrong to discriminate. It's wrong to create a two-tier situation, and I think there's ethical problems with it. I also think more generally in this bill, the idea that those that workers, I think their health is being put in jeopardy. Young people who have not been vaccinated yet, their health has been put in jeopardy, and indeed, we wonder why, legislation on ventilation standards, for example, has not been rushed through into the Dáil as quickly as some of the other legislation we've seen this week to actually guarantee proper ventilation standards, which might do more actually to protect public health and particularly workers. And I know the government have said, well, the choice is open a bit on this basis, or open everything and risk public health, or delay. And, we'll nail our colours to the mast. We would rather delay and not have discrimination, not have a two-tier situation, not have invasive questions or, demands being put on people, obligations being put on people about their vaccination or health status. Delay so that we can all enjoy the reopening that will come on the basis of sufficient levels of vaccination being achieved, such that we have that population immunity and protection at the point at which that arrives, which hopefully will be quite soon, because the vaccination programme is advancing, and it is advancing pretty rapidly. And it does, at this stage at least, seem to be efficacious, and let's hope, fingers crossed, that it remains that way and we get to that point where reopening is possible. But we would rather delay, not take the risk, given the dangers of Delta, and given the fact that this regime does create that sort of discriminatory two-tier situation, and may indeed be quite unenforceable in truth. That's the other point to make, that is this actually practical, any of this? Is it operable in the scenarios that it's supposed to apply to? So that is the basis on which we are opposing, will feel obliged to vote against this bill, but insofar as we're pretty certain that the government majority will ensure this bill does pass, we are this amendment is calling for a firm sunset clause, not an open-ended sunset clause where it could be extended, but it's saying this far and absolutely no further on these kind of measures. And I think that's a reasonable thing for us to propose, and I would hope we would get the support. God knows, maybe even the minister, he's nodding away there, he might support our amendment.
Thank you very much.